Egypt heavily depends on diesel and fuel. It is used in everything from cars to electricity to production plants in all industries.
Egypt produces 22,000 tons per day, but demand is 40,000 tons. The difference is imported. There are two problems. There is no money to import it, and it's subsidized by $10 billion annually. Secondly, because of lack of security, a large amount is being smuggled outside or sold in the black market.
Any shortages can be immediately visible with long queues at petrol stations and continuous electricity cutoffs, especially as consumption increases during the summer. This quickly leads to public anger and lawlessness. Aware that it will take time to restore security and control smuggling, the government has opted for a short-term solution of importing supplies from Qatar and other states.
Iraq, Libya and Qatar forged agreements that would provide Egypt with more than half the imported quantity of diesel at very low cost. But it has been delayed due to disagreements over pricing and arrangements of the swap deals with Qatar.
The government has also announced it will reduce subsidies on fuel starting July, which according to experts will save at least $15 billion from the budget, but it could have an unfavorable social impact.
Cancelling subsidies will shoot prices up and cause civil unrest. The government will only cancel subsidies on heavy industry, but will gradually reduce it on cars and electricity using the coupon system.
The long-term plan by the state is to convert all energy use from diesel to natural gas, which is cheaper and more environmentally sustainable.
Let's face it, us drivers would all like cheaper fuel. So how about a fuel that's good for the environment and free, using a device that claims to allow your car to run on water? For the first time, we put a water fuel-powered car to the test. Using water as fuel may seem far-fetched, but I've come to meet a driver who's taking his car to be fitted with a device that claims to do just that. Graham Mace from Norfolk is keen to clean up his 4x4's green credentials. He found an attractive device on the internet. The manufacturer claims for every 5 litres of diesel he now uses, his engine will soon burn only 4. Or even less. The rest of the fuel will be provided by nothing more than water.
Find out how you could save money with Hydro Fuel Systems in Aylsham. Visit
I heard some advertising on the local radio at the end of last year and thought it sounded quite an interesting idea, so did a bit of research online, all seemed to stack up, so I think I'll give it a go.
Was it to save money, or is it because this is quite a big car, isn't it, and they all say it's a gas guzzler?
Yes, I guess I do sometimes feel a little bit guilty about driving a big 4x4.
Imagine how much you'd save if you could run your car on water with just a little petrol added. An Auckland car enthusiast says he's found a way to do just that and has a working prototype to prove it.
It looks like a normal car and it drives like a normal car, but this Nissan is anything but.
Can you fill it up, please? Water.
Water? No, we can't sell water. We'll only sell petrol.
For the past 5 months, the car has run on a mix of petrol and water, creating an unusual byproduct. The steaming sedan is the brainchild of Graham Jenkins.
Everybody's always known that.
And everybody is looking for answers to the price pinch at the pumps. A local auto body shop claims to have the answer using hydrogen. KGUN 9 On Your Side's Dan Spindle finds out, does it work?
This may look like your ordinary 4-cylinder engine, but what you can't see may surprise you. Don DeLong and David Hargrove didn't invent hydrogen fuel technology. In fact, the concept isn't new at all. As early as 1807, more than 100 years before Henry Ford's Model T, engineers and inventors were trying to power a vehicle using hydrogen. So why aren't the roadways flooded with hydrogen-fueled cars?
It's dollars. It boils down to dollars and cents as far as I'm concerned.
And it's not just about the cost of the unit itself, about $1,200 installed.
Nobody has figured out yet how to charge us taxes on something that's absolutely free, or how to charge us for producing what we're doing right here, right now.
Here's how it works. The hydrogen generator uses water, an electrolyte, and an electric current to produce the gas that's injected to make your engine run cleaner and more efficient. To prove they actually are producing hydrogen, watch the bubbles pop in the bucket of water. This is the power, they say, that can fire up your car to get between 15 and 50% better gas mileage.
This is not a fly-by-night thing. This is not a gimmick. I mean, you know, it's not magical, and it took a lot of experimentation. Charles Proctor is one of a handful of customers who has had the generator installed. Over a 4-month time frame, he's gotten a 13% increase in fuel economy on his 14-year-old pickup. But that's not the main reason for the switch.
My real motive for this is patriotic. I really think that this is something that's good for America. I think we need it.
I've had people stand and tell me you can't be doing what you say you're doing. Well,
and what they are doing is creating a buzz for an alternative fuel source, and for that, we give it an A. They say hydrogen is the fuel of the future, but time will tell if this will catch on as an international phenomenon. If you've got a product you want us to test out before you buy it, let us try it. Dan Spindle, KGUN 9, on your side.
Well, it has been a beautiful night, no matter how you spend.
Two green car enthusiasts claim they've cracked the code to cutting carbon emissions while also saving you money. Their homemade hybrid technology makes fuel go further by adding water.
After years of tinkering and testing, these two Melbourne mates believe they've beaten the big car companies in the race to cut carbon. From the street, it looks like any other car, but a flick of the switch and it's hybrid. The mechanical mastermind behind the idea says he's driving down the cost of commuting while most motorists are under the pump.
You put $100 in, you save 20. It's as simple as that.
The simple secret, converting water into oxygen and hydrogen vapour, which when mixed in the engine makes the fuel go about 20% further or more than a third further with diesel.
Essentially we improve the combustion of the engine, so we're able to burn more of the fuel that's already there, giving the driver better mileage and a cleaner emission, so it's a win-win.
They're already running a lawnmower on nothing but the precious drop. And hope a petrol-free future isn't just a load of hot air. What started as a backyard dream is fast becoming a booming reality. The pair already taking hundreds of orders from drivers keen to cash in on their big idea.
Very exciting to be at that point.
Sounds almost too good to be true. A Fresno-based company is using basic chemistry in an attempt to beat high fuel prices.
Hydromotion says its hydrogen generator helps burn every last drop of gas or diesel that you put in your tank. CBS 47's Tony Body shows us a local trucking company that's giving the product a shot.
It's a hydrogen generator, and it gets its charge from regular old mineral water.
It's going to sit here. It's holding about 16 right now.
The way it works is pretty simple.
It creates hydrogen from water by separating it with electrolysis.
In other words, it takes the H out of H2O. The hydrogen combines with diesel to completely burn every ounce of fuel in the system.
People are leery of alternatives like this because they believe you're burning water. You're not. You're burning the components of water, elemental forms of hydrogen and oxygen.
And Mark Roberts of Hydromotion says maintenance is a breeze.
The only thing that you have to worry about is when the light on the inside goes out, you need to put more water in the blue tank.
The generator costs $7,000, a price truck company owner, Jim Gandulia, is willing to pay. Considering he last spent $38,000 to fill the storage tank at his yard.
If it saves me 15%, that's $7,300. I'll save $7,300 per tank of diesel any day of the week.
Gandulia has 25 trucks, which average 7 miles a gallon. This unit is designed to improve his mileage by 20 to 40% and reduce emissions.
If I can get 8 miles per gallon, I'm a happy camper. Like I said, if I can get 15%, I'll put them on everything.
It could take Jim 3 months before he sees any change in his fuel mileage. That's because the hydrogen generator needs that much time in order to clean out all of the carbon buildup that's accumulated inside the truck's engine. In Fresno, Tony Body, CBS 47 on your side.
Hydrogen generators are also available for cars and pickups at a cost of $1,200.
Meanwhile, in tonight's gas price watch, local gas prices continue to drop. How about that? Here's a look at the nationwide average. Right now it's at $4.02. That's down 2 cents from just yesterday. In California, regular unleaded now $4.39 a gallon. Here in the valley, higher still, unfortunately, $4.42 a gallon. As always, to find the best gas prices here in the valley, log on to our website, which is cbs47.tv, and then click on gas prices. You'll find that on the left-hand side of the page.
$4 this week, but experts say they could reach around $5 later on this summer, even by Memorial Day. ABC 6's Walter Allen is live outside of our studios now with a cost-saving item you can install in your car. Walter.
Yeah, Bob, it's called a hydrogen generator, and it goes on your engine right here. We're told it increases your gas mileage, but we brought in our car expert to make sure it's the real deal.
They're hovering right around $4 a gallon right now, putting on about 400 miles a week. Expect to go up to $5 by summer. About a little over $40 to go ahead and supply that for a week.
So instead of wasting a lot of oxygen on complaining,
it needs to resurface and come back again.
Steve Conroe is splitting oxygen and hydrogen away from water with a hydrogen generator he installed on his car.
Electrolysis means you're using electric current to go ahead and split water molecules back into 2 parts of hydrogen, 1 part oxygen. So all that white that you're seeing is the hydrogen being split right now.
The hydrogen goes into the air filter and helps the engine burn the gasoline cleaner.
Gone up to 50 miles per gallon, which is a 20% increase.
Increase your gas mileage by 20%? Well, if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So we opened it up to our car guy to see if it's legit.
So what does it do now? What's the O2 sensor? Shooting in like a nitrous oxide would? Is that a Nerf football down there?
Yeah, it is.
How often do you refill it? Where do you buy hydrogen? How about temperature?
After a thorough inspection, Dan Boots Longinette says he likes the idea.
I love it.
You say, Boots, you sold?
I think I am.
Now, Conroe tells us that after watching a do-it-yourself video on YouTube, it took him about 4 hours and $40, but it was easily installed. Boots says it's not for a beginner mechanic. You need to know what you're doing and also make sure you're not in violation of your warranty. For now, we're live outside our studios. Walter Allen, ABC 6 News.
Oil prices at record levels and rising prices at the pump. Fuel protests in the nation's capital. It's not an easy time to be running a haulage company. This HGV does more than 10,000 miles a month. The company uses an onboard computer system to monitor everything the driver does.
And that basically tells us the MPG, tells us the driver grading, how the personnel, the driver individually drives the vehicle through, from acceleration through to brake, how much pressure they apply on the brake, how much pressure they apply on the throttle, even to the point of how many pedal movements they carry out on the throttle.
But these lorries have also been fitted with a device that injects hydrogen into the fuel. It can reduce CO2 emissions and improve fuel economy by as much as 10%.
By adding a small amount of hydrogen gas to the air that would normally be combusted. So in the combustion chamber you've got fuel, air and a small amount of pure hydrogen, which promotes a quicker, cleaner, more efficient burn of the fuel that's available.
Despite it costing almost £4,000, haulage companies seem convinced of the financial benefits.
We started with 6 units, and if I actually continue the rollout over my entire 20 vehicle fleet, we feel that that'll earn us something like £75,000 saving in a calendar year.
I think hauliers, like car drivers, are looking for every possible means of saving money, and it's very encouraging that here in Kent we've got this bit of innovation which is certainly worth looking at, and I think that drivers of any commercial vehicle ought to be interested in seeing what the prospects are for fuel savings as a consequence of this bit of kit.
And with diesel costs the biggest single expense for hauliers, anything that reduces the fuel bill is worth a trial. Mark Norman, BBC South East Today, Sittingbourne.
Denny Klein fires up his hot new invention. His machine emits a flame that feels only slightly warm to the touch. But watch what happens when he touches anything else.
Instantaneously, I can burn a hole right down through the center of that brick.
The flame instantly turns hotter than the surface of the sun. Heat so intense it takes only seconds to literally burn a hole through charcoal. 3 seconds turns a brass ball to glowing liquid metal. Tungsten lights up like a sparkler. Steel, lead, and other metals slices on contact. Yet the tip of the welder stays cool to the touch.
No other gas will do this.
Denny Klein uses an alternative fuel source once thought impossible. He says people still have trouble believing him when he reveals his liquid fuel.
Water. Take water and electricity, and we break it down through our very unique electrolysis process.
Klein has just patented his process of converting H2O to HHO, producing a gas that combines the atomic power of hydrogen with the chemical stability of water.
It turns right back to water. You can see the water running off of this.
Klein originally designed his water-burning engine for cutting metal. He thought his invention would replace volatile acetylene in welding factories. Then one day, as he drove to his laboratory in Clearwater, he thought of another way to burn his HHO gas.
On a 100-mile trip, we use about 4 ounces of water.
Klein says his prototype 1994 Ford Escort can travel exclusively on water, though he currently has it rigged to run as a water and gasoline hybrid.
Simply speaking, it can change the world by reducing our dependence on fossil fuels.
These are equivalent to our... Pete Dominici is helping Klein take his hydrogen technology patents from a 2-room office in Clearwater to consumer markets around the world.
You know what? Microsoft came out of nowhere, came out of the garage. Why not Hydrogen Technologies?
The duo is already in negotiations with one U.S. automaker and the U.S. government. Their plans have grown from basic welding with water to powering the entire world from the safest and cleanest fuel on Earth. Craig Patrick, Fox News.
Members of Congress recently invited Denny Klein to Washington to demonstrate his technology. Now his company is currently developing
to run his pickup truck. It was a month ago today that we introduced you to Art Green. He installed a water for gas unit on his Chevy Avalanche with hopes of getting better mileage. Tonight we're checking in to see how that has gone so far. 13 News reporter Joe Flanagan, he joins us now. And Joe, the big question, does it work?
Well, yes, as Sandra would ask the question, it does work. Wait till you hear the gas mileage Art Green is now getting. This is the way it looked last month when we were looking under the hood of Art Green's Chevy Avalanche. He'd installed a water for gas kit that he says improves your mileage. It's all based on mason jars filled with water and baking soda and wires that create a current of hydrogen. He discovered all this online and ordered instruction manuals for easy installation, which Art says took him only 3 hours.
It's a brand new truck. The whole engine's been reborn. It has power from a cold start. It just picks up and puts you back in the seat.
So we went for a spin today and asked Art about his new and improved gas mileage.
My over-the-road mileage is 40 miles a gallon. It used to be 20. That's another 50% increase. So it's either 50 or 60% increases depending on being city or highway.
Yes, Art says when he was getting 8 miles a gallon in town, he's now getting 20 miles a gallon. And his highway mileage has gone from 20 miles a gallon to 40 miles a gallon. All for $80 in parts and $95 manuals.
I tell people if they don't do it and they are complaining about the high price of oil, they're being less than honest with themselves. There is a way that will pay for itself in 1 or 2 weeks that will bring their mileage, double their mileage is another way to put it.
And for more on this Water for Gas program, you can read my story on WVEC.com and see the additional links. Reporting live, Joe Flanagan, 13 News.
Well, Art Green may be saving a lot of money, but you're also...
Petrol prices setting records every week. The search for an alternative is now very serious. Car makers like BMW and others are well into development of hydrogen and electric cars. But at this stage, they're too expensive and out of reach for most of us, which is why Daniel and Jack Oliver decided to find their own solution. For a few $100s and some hard work, the brothers have managed to get an old Ford Falcon to run on water. Here's Rowan Wynn.
This old Falcon could be the car of the future. It runs partially on water.
The research over the internet and things like that did take a bit of time,
but the actual making of it and putting it onto the car was really quite simple.
Until recently, mechanic Daniel Oliver and his younger brother Jack used their skills at the local lawnmower repair business in the regional town of Portland. But the relentless rises in the cost of petrol got the boys and their dad thinking.
The research originally came from our father, Byron. He was looking it up on the internet because he's an interstate truck driver, and he wanted to have because the price of fuel is so high at the moment, and doing it for a living, every little bit helps.
The family hit upon a plan to convert their gas guzzler into a hydrogen hybrid. With a few $100s worth of parts, they were away. In the early stages of conversion, there were a few problems.
We had a bit of an incident in the shed where we lit it on fire and blew it up.
Luckily, the boys survived, as did the car. Learning from their mistakes, they've now created a real petrol-hydrogen hybrid. The hydrogen comes from ordinary tap water. When electricity is passed through the water, hydrogen gas comes out. When that mixes with the petrol, it helps it burn a lot more efficiently, so you end up using less petrol.
We have 2 hydrogen converters here, which takes the gas, which is hydrogen, out of the water, brings it up this tube here, comes into the safety, which is called a bubbler, brings it down this tube here, and simply puts it into the inlet manifold just before the throttle body there.
And that mixes with the petrol, does it?
Yeah, it does. It brings the actual fuel. Usually your fuel's about 70%. It actually brings it up the burn capacity to around 80 to 90%.
So it's getting more out of the fuel that you're already using?
Yeah, it is. Simple as that.
Hydrogen's pretty volatile. Is it safe?
Yeah, it's extremely safe. That's why we have the actual safety there, the bubbler, just in case there is a backfire, a bit of a flashback, and it's only going into the water.
On an average week, Daniel will go through 1 or 2 litres of water and a lot less petrol.
I'm saving around 20% on the fuel bill. So if you're spending $100 a week on fuel, doing a bit of travelling, saving yourself $20 a week.
But what is fuel consumption like on longer trips? Well, to find out, we filled up Daniel's tank to the top and asked him to make a 100-kilometre round trip in his hybrid. For comparison, he took a mate along in a similar model car that hasn't been converted, also with a full tank of fuel. The results of that test in a moment, but first, are the boys onto something? Well, we asked Professor Harry Watson from the University of Melbourne whether hydrogen offers real hope.
It certainly is the way forward because it allows you to drive without producing any carbon and therefore greenhouse gases.
Back to that test, and after 100 Ks, the hydrogen hybrid had used 5.32 litres of petrol at a cost of $7.97. His mate, on the other hand, had burned through almost 4 times as much fuel. Daniel and Jack say the goal is to create a way for the car to run solely on hydrogen. They acknowledge it is early days, but add the results have been encouraging.
It's actually better for your pocket and it's better for the environment, so there's no need that everyone shouldn't be able to do it.
They could save you more than 20% on fuel, triple the life of your engine oil, and cut your emissions by 80%. Would you believe them?
Well, a local trucking company did, and now they are spreading the word that it actually works. What they're calling a breakthrough in hydrogen technology. In our Tech Fence report.
With 250 semis on the road across the East Coast to as far west as Denver, Walker-based Equity Transportation is considered a major. Clients like Steelcase, Hayward, and Meyer. So it's probably no surprise that somebody's always trying to sell them something, claiming it'll save some fuel.
We like to call them snake oil salesmen.
They almost never work. Then came Jim.
And all we're doing is adding enough hydrogen to burn that dollar's worth of diesel that you just bought. Instead of 87 cents or 86 cents, you're burning 99.9 cents.
They started with 10 test units bolted onto existing trucks in their fleet, some with high mileage.
When we put this thing on, the thing just took off and started running, and I couldn't believe the results.
Results, they say, were confirmed independently with dyno tests at the local W.W. Williams Service Center and emissions tests at Iowa State. Fuel mileage went from the low 6s to the high 8s. Emissions cut by 80%, meeting those stricter standards for the year 2014. And the life expectancy of their motor oil tripled. How does it work?
What it is, we have a 1.8 liter bottle of water here. The water goes through the reactor. It separates the hydrogen and the oxygen in gas form, pipes it in down the gas hose into the intake manifold.
Sort of like a nitro system on a race car, adding a wisp of hydrogen that helps burn every bit of fuel in the combustion cycle.
Now, that's important for the guys that are riding in the cab, because right now trucking's only got a margin of about 5 or 6%. When you can burn the entire contents of that fuel tank right there instead of pouring it up a smokestack,
you can save up to 30%. But keep in mind, these units aren't cheap.
The typical hydrogen generator is around $10,000. And at $1 or $2 a gallon, there's no justification to it. At $3, $3.50 a gallon, it can be a one-year payback.
Equity recently showed off their new technology to the Michigan Trucking Association, touting their tests and even displaying how clean the heads look after 40,000 miles of hydrogen injection on a 140,000-mile engine. Even so, with so much snake oil out there, people are skeptical, and rightly so.
I've experimented with it myself. I've seen it work, glimpses of
With gas prices that are painful even to look at, our journey started here. This Nissan Altima has a secret hiding under its hood. One that its inventor says can more than double your gas mileage. We were doubtful too, which is why we came here to put it to the test. At the same time, Eddie Maharo pulled in with a story that struck a chord.
I can't even put gas in my car because I live in LA and I put $4 and I'm not going to make it home with the gas prices. That's right now, it's really high, you know.
A small handout was at least a short-term fix, but what Terry Vichik and his partner Mo Hill really want to give American drivers is a solution. They've been working on it here, in this unassuming garage with a modest-looking device. They just might have a significant impact. Their invention takes water and splits off the hydrogen, which in turn promises to help the engine run cleaner, stronger, and more efficiently. They offered to put it to the test.
But it's pretty simple. You fill up your tank, you drive it, you fill it up again. You take the amount that you consumed and divide it by the miles you drove. That's your miles per gallon.
And so with a full tank, we were off. Hill says he hopes one day every car will have his device, but for now, there's a target market.
The main thing are these semi-trucks, because they're hurting with these diesel prices, and when they hurt, all the food prices goes up, everything.
Fast forward 51 miles later, and we're back where we started.
We did 51.2 miles. We used half a gallon of the gas.
Impressive, but just what Hill had expected. He's seen it with dozens of test runs before.
I'm not surprised I've seen this, but every time I look at it, it gives me another tickle.
So the next step is to share their product with the public. With the patent already in hand, marketing has started. Orders are being taken, and official testing will begin soon. 3 months from now, the two hope to give every American a chance to put them to the test, one they fully expect to pass. In high definition, Andrea Bond, Boom HD News, Montclair, California.
How about a little black box that turns water into fuel? Put it in your car and watch your mileage go through the roof. Robert Guild says the device he invented can do just that. Okay, Robert, I'm skeptical. How does it work?
Good morning. What it is, it's basic electrolysis, and it's something we've all learned in probably high school chemistry. And we're using a distilled water base, and through electrolysis, turning it into hydrogen gas, and then bringing it into the airstream within your car or truck, and then burning it along with your, fuel that you're currently using.
So your car partially runs on hydrogen, right?
Correct. You're actually introducing hydrogen into the airstream that your car is burning.
So hydrogen is explosive. That was my first thought. Is this safe?
Yes, it is. Actually, we have our cells coated with an explosion-proof coating, which will keep it safe at all times, even in an accident. And we're not storing any hydrogen gas. So by not storing it, we're just burning every bit that we create by the cell.
So can it harm your car in any way?
No, it doesn't. Actually, the cars run much better on hydrogen, and we do have our protection system that we introduce into the oil. Hydrogen is very explosive, as you might imagine, and we put that in, and it lasts about 60,000 miles and keeps the engine enjoying the hydrogen, as it were, and actually prolongs the life of the engine so far in our testing.
So how much can it increase your gas mileage?
The highest we've recorded to date is 42%, and the lowest of the 200 vehicles we've done so far, about 15%. So somewhere in that range with, I'd say, 25 or 30 being the average.
Okay, so how much does it cost? Where can we get it, and how do you install it? Can you do that in about, 30 seconds, or maybe less?
Sure, absolutely. The average four-cylinder car runs about $1,500. To check to where we get it, we're doing it in Connecticut, and hopefully we'll be across the country over the next 90 days. And just look at cthydro.com, and you should be able to get lots more information on how it all works.
Well, we appreciate your being with us this morning. Robert Guild, thank you so much.
The Mother's Supercars Expo stats should impress performance enthusiasts who will get fuel efficiency and low emissions from a small amount of 130 octane hydrogen added to the vehicle's intake air-fuel mixture through electrolysis. Part of the total system includes the efficient pre-cooler air conditioner, which recaptures condensed water to replenish the hydrogen water reservoir. Whew. Are you taking notes? The car's body is carbon fibre over a light steel chassis.
It's incredible to think that this is actually a green kind of supercar. You know, it looks so menacing and intimidating. There's probably 5 people in the world driven this car, the governor being one of them. You know, they're starting to sell them already. You know, they are thinking of obviously, you know, putting a roof on this car at some point. I think you should make it illegal. This car doesn't need a roof. This is motoring at its best. Where's a racetrack when you need one?
As with many sports, in driving, you go where you look. If you've ever been to a racing school, you know that clear vision is critical in seeing where you want to go and